class, we're going to start this lesson by reviewing some things that you may not use very often. If you only create documents, you might not notice that every document that you create is a component, and you can look at the menu on the bottom left to see all of your components. Usually there's a default one called component A, but in this case our first component is our worksheet. Usually that's the only component, but in this one I created a blank head for you. So when because this is a component, I can drag this blank head in multiple times. So I do actually have 4 of these blank heads on the worksheet. And what that allows me to do is we're going to make different styles of hair and eyeballs, but I can use this blank head to make sure they all fit around the same head. But all of them are tied to these 3 parameters on the right. I can vary the stroke of all of them at once, or I can vary the focus of the head. So if I want my head to move horizontally back and forth, I can change the horizontal focus. And I'm not actually changing the number. What I'm doing is I'm scrubbing it like it's a slider. So having a different vertical focus will move the eyeballs up and down. And so that's our first example of a component with some parameters that can slide. So let's reset that to 0 and we'll start drawing. So in this assignment, we want to mix and match different hairstyles. So I'm going to be creating 3 hairstyles for the back of my head and then 3 hairstyles for the front of my head. And I'm going to be able to mix and match them to make 9 different hairstyles. But let's start with the first one. You are welcome to use the shape composition or the pen tool, because I'm not very gifted at the pen tool, I'm going to combine some shapes together. So for my first hairstyle, I am going to make it a very simple straight-haired bob. But I like to wear my hair parted on the side, so I'm going to overlap these circles where the point that they intersect isn't in the middle, it's on the side. But for a very simple bob, it's going to have some straight hair. So I'm going to take this rectangle and align it on one side. And then I'm going to copy and make another one for the other side. And this one won't be quite as long. I mean, it'll be the same length, but it won't be the same height. Okay, so now that I have 4 shapes, I want it to be one piece, so it'll look like a piece of hair or a piece of the back of the hair. So I'm going to go to Modify and Boolean Union or Weld, and now it's one piece. It is actually still, it's 4 components. When I click on here, you see a vignette around there because I'm zoomed into that union. But if I click outside, it just shows me the union. And then I can go and select a fill and give her some really bright hair. Okay, so that doesn't look like it's the back of the head because it's covering up the face. So before I open up the face, I am going to do a right click and convert to paths, and that gets rid of all of those little circles, so it's easier to work with. But to cut out a hole for the face, I'm going to put my circle over that face. Notice that I have my hair object in my outline view, and then I have my circle that I want to cut out right above it. I can either highlight it on the canvas, or I can highlight it by pressing Shift or Control to select it in the outline view. And now I'm going to do a modify and difference. Okay, so now that looks like the back of the hair with the face cut out. And one more time, I'm going to click on this and I'm going to do a convert to paths because I don't really need to use that circle anymore. I just wanted the shape to cut out that circle. Okay, when I look in the outline view, it is just a collection of anchors that make a single closed path. Okay, for my second head of hair, I want some curly hair. So I do still like my part on the side, but this time I think I want to make it look like it's a bunch of braids. So I'm going to make a really skinny oval and then tilt it a tiny bit. We can make it even smaller than that. And then I might even be able to make this a linear repeat. So it's not going to go down. It's not going to go to the side. It's going to go down. So I want the displacement to be 0 in the x direction, but maybe 0.5. Okay, that's too much, so I'm going to grab it and scrub it to make it a tiny bit smaller. And then maybe we only need 4. Okay, so I want to do the same thing over here, but I'm going to tilt it the other way. Okay, and then I'm going to do my modify linear repeat, and I don't want to repeat it in the x direction, I just want to repeat it in the y direction. We'll start with 0.5 and then I'll adjust it until it looks good. And since this one started a little lower, I'll just make this 3 instead of 4. Okay, so here's my other head of hair. I'm going to grab all that and do a modify Boolean union. Going to convert that to paths. And then let's cut out a face with a modify Boolean difference. Okay, and that could probably be, looks like a little country girl, so let's give her some brown hair. And I do want to go ahead and do another convert to paths. Okay, so now it's just a single collection of anchors to make a single closed path.